A Libert Seguros agora é Yellow. Tudo aquilo que já era bom continua igual. Excelência e proximidade permanecem como nossa essência. Porque não é uma mudança, é uma evolução. A Yellow está sempre em sintonia com você. É liberdade com segurança. A melhor experiência acessível a todos os clientes, iluminando cada passo da sua jornada. Deixe essa luz iluminar seu caminho. Yellow Seguradora. Seguro para viver livre. Consulte seu corretor.
Today on CityCast Madison. 2024 general election ballots are in. The day after the election is here. The CityCast Madison team got together to bring you what we know about the election outcomes so far. From local, state, and national races to the 4 referendums on Madison area ballots, we've got you covered on the latest. It's Wednesday, November 6th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. It's 5:15 on a Wednesday morning, and we are here to bring you the election results as far as we know them. I'm here with the team bright and early. Hayley Sperling, our executive producer. What's good?
Good morning. It's another day above ground, and that's what's good.
Yes, yes. And Rob Thomas, our newsletter editor. How goes it?
I am present. I am here.
Marked as here.
Yep.
Okay, y'all. So let's get into it. Let's start with the Senate race, because that one is very, very key in our state. If you were watching last night, man, the lead was going back and forth, according to the AP. So from Eric Hovde, the Republican challenger, to U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, the incumbent, back to Hovde come midnight with about 83% of the voting in when we went to bed. It was hard to know, who's got the seat, which is something we always expected. It's a close race. As of early this morning, Senator Tammy Baldwin has declared victory. The race is yet to be officially called, but the Baldwin campaign says at this juncture, with 98.6% of the votes counted, Baldwin's leading Hovde by 49.3% to 48.6%. And that's around a 25,000 plus vote margin. So, and they're stating that that gap is just too high to make up at this point. So, getting this from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And they also know that these vote tallies are not final, as there are still some absentee ballots to be processed and counted in Racine and Oshkosh, and some votes from precincts in Oshkosh at the time of this declaration of victory. So, yeah, and to note, a Wisconsin candidate can demand a recount if the official tally shows a candidate losing by 1 percentage point or less. It is in that territory, so we'll see, but in the meantime, it seems that Tammy holds on to her winning streak. If you've been obsessively watching the numbers as I have, this yo-yo has been quite the ride, going to bed with Hovde in the lead, and now, it's now o'clock and Baldwin's got it. So, yeah, we're standing by to find out who the victor is for this highly contested Senate seat.
Like Bianca said, we were recording this in the 5 a.m. hour of the day, and at 4:34 in the morning, AP, the Associated Press, officially called Wisconsin for Donald Trump, putting him back into the White House. So this is the big news of the day, right? This is what we've got going on. When AP calls it, and they are very meticulous about how they do it. According to WPR, this is only the second time since 1984 that a Republican presidential candidate has carried the state. And of course, the last time being 2016. So here we are in 2024. Donald Trump has taken Wisconsin, and with that, the votes that he needs to get back into the White House. So far, again, at the time of recording, unofficial results, according to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, have showed that Trump had a lead of about 41,000 votes in Wisconsin, and that's with more than 95% of the votes in. So Yeah, this is what we got. This
Yeah.
is what we've got going on. Harris's campaign has yet to concede, of course, but this is it. Trump does have the numbers that he needs to get back into the White House, and Wisconsin playing a big role in that. Can't say that he didn't work for it. Can't say that either of them didn't do it. We were on the podcast talking day in, day out about all of the times that these campaigns and their surrogates had been coming to the state and coming to Wisconsin. They're working for it. And one won out over the other. And we're definitely going to be digging into how exactly this happened and how people are feeling about it later this week in our Friday News Roundup. But yeah, news of the day. Trump takes Wisconsin. That's all there is to say. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, it feels like a 2016 repeat, but even more so. Yeah.
It does. And even with that too, like voter turnout, crazy high. One of the things, of course, that we're still waiting on, along with our Senate results, are the final voter turnout numbers for the state of Wisconsin. But of course, like early voting has been one of the biggest stories that we've been watching this year. As of September 1st of this year, Wisconsin had more than 3.5 million registered voters. And in 2020, that turnout was 84%. So I'm curious to see how things will shift for this election season when we get those final numbers back from the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Locally speaking, though, Dane County showed up. Our voter turnout was 92%. So go off, Dane County. People really got out there to vote. And with that, we were voting on some exciting local elections, including Dane County Executive. A race that was called pretty early in the night was for Dane County Executive. Melissa Agard declared her victory in the race. With all of the votes counted, she captured roughly 60% of the vote to beat Dana Pellebon to be our county's next leader. If you guys remember, most recently, Agard served as a state senator. She was born and raised in Madison. And she actually got her start in politics at the county level as a member of the Board of Supervisors back in 2010. She got some big endorsements right out of the gate, including now former Dane County Executive Joe Parisi, who served in the role since 2011, and he retired in May. And this is the special election that we're using to fill that vacancy. So Senator Agard is now going to be Dane County Executive, Melissa Agard. And if you're curious about what her stances are on the issues, what she sees as, Dane County's biggest threats and opportunities, we actually interviewed her. So definitely take a listen to that show. We'll throw a link in our show notes. Other than that, Madison, we still had some big votes to make for our city. Rob, you're going to tell us about how the city went for the referendum.
Yeah, it was referendum fever on the ballot. So it looks like Madison voters have approved the $22 million operating budget referendum that the city placed on the ballot. The most recent numbers I saw at the Cap Times and Channel 3000 said that with 93% of precincts reporting, the margin was 57.4% yes and 42.6% no. And assuming that holds, the city will basically have a status quo budget and will avoid having to make something like $5.6 million in cuts to city services, raise fees. So that one, the city's got to be happy with that, obviously.
That's a big win for the city. I mean, they were pushing really hard for this. And I know the alternative, like you said, cuts and fee raises. And so now they get to move forward with a little bit more of a balanced budget, which is exciting. And I mean, Madison wasn't the only place that was doing referendum. I mean, there were referendums happening in Monona and in Maple Bluff. And it's just like, I think very much a testament to say like all of our cities are kind of struggling. But in addition to our Madison city referendum, we also had a two referendum questions from the Madison Metropolitan School District, right, Bianca?
Yep. And those are both yeses. It's
yay, schools.
Yes for schools. It was funny. I was on a neighborhood walk, I don't know, sometime last week and ran into our local national writer, John Nichols, who writes about politics and all sorts of things. And the discussion was around our referendums. He's like, I think Madison's a yes city. And that's certainly what it seems like. So yes to the city referendum and yes to both referendums from the Madison School District. So grabbing from Kayla Wynn's story in the Cap Times yesterday, with around 72 precincts reporting last night, the Madison School District declared a victory around 10 for their asks totaling $607 million. So that $507 million for facilities, rebuilding and replacing middle and a small number of elementary schools, and then $100 million for operations. So that is for funding staff and programming and more. So, and, I saw Madison 365 post some of the numbers, and these referendums were approved by pretty good margins too. It was about over double yes votes than no. So we should note here on CityCast Madison that the Madison Public Schools Foundation has previously been a sponsor of CityCast Madison. You might have actually heard our conversation. CityCast content director Will Fulton talked with the foundation's president, Melinda Heinrichs, about the then proposed referendums. So yeah, and that said, all of our episodes are always produced with 100% editorial independence from our sponsors. But of course, this is a big issue, and we hit it from multiple different angles. So, that was cool. And you know what? There was one more. There was a constitutional amendment that we wanted to talk about as well. So, money for our city, money for our schools, and then state legislatures. Some of them were looking to change the Constitution. So the amendment that was basically looking at requiring citizenship to vote did pass. The AP called that last night at 9:42 p.m. And we need to keep in mind that all the results are unofficial until they're certified in the coming weeks. But that was a yes vote, and it passed by a large margin. So just so you, as a reminder of what this amendment was, it was basically changing the language around requiring citizenship to vote. Just making the language more specific and stricter, like more ironclad. The Constitution already specifies that citizens are our qualified electors, but now it's been updated to say only U.S. citizens can vote, and also adding a clause at the end that kind of spells out that citizenship requirement applies to national, state, and local elections. Supporters saying that, this is kind of an attempt to block any non-citizens from voting in local elections in the state. As we've discussed on the show, that doesn't happen in Wisconsin anyway, but this is some sort of extra precaution. And so in terms of how that rounded up, 71.2% of voters said yes on that ballot measure who did vote on it, and 28.8% said no. So, yeah. All four yeses.
Yes, and yes. And we had also some state legislative races that we were watching too. A little bit less exciting because a lot of them were uncontested, right, Rob?
Yeah, that's kind of how it is in the Madison area. The primary is kind of where it's at.
True.
The one exception to that, I think, was Assembly District 48, which is the district that stretches kind of from Sun Prairie out to parts of Columbus. That was an open seat because Samba Balde made an unsuccessful run for the state Senate. So you had attorney Andrew Heisel representing the Democrats. He won, I think it was a 5-way primary up against Republican Lisa Rubrick, and Heisel won that one pretty handily. Other than that, it was people running unopposed. District 47, Randy Udell took the district, which includes parts of Fitchburg and Stoughton. Assembly District 76, State Rep Francesca Hong, she kind of cruised to re-election. I don't know if she had a primary opponent in addition to didn't have a general election opponent either. Assembly District 77, which is the UW-Madison campus, Shorewood Hills, and kind of those neighborhoods around Lake Wingra. Democrat Renuka Mayadev handily won her primary and then faced no general election opponents. And then lastly, Assembly District 78, Representative Sheila Stubbs. She easily won representing this district, and that includes South Madison, Fitchburg, and Monona.
Yeah.
So not a lot of drama.
Not a lot of drama. We love that. We love no drama, though. I will just shout out newly created District 77, Renuka Mayadev. She's now the first South Asian person to serve in Wisconsin's assembly. So kind of a historic first there. Which wild. Is there are several bright and shining spots out of this election season, and that's one of them in Madison. And Bianca, you got the Senate races, yeah?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. No offense to y'all listening, but we basically already knew who was going to win these because they didn't really, they don't really have opponents. So District 16, the Senate District 16, covering Cottage Grove, Fitchburg, Sun Prairie, Stoughton, Deerfield, parts of McFarland, parts of Jefferson and Dodge counties. That went to State Representative Melissa Ratcliffe, Democrat from Cottage Grove. She'd won her August primary, and she will represent the district. And then Senate District 26. So that includes most of Madison, as well as Monona and parts of McFarland. And that's State Senator Kelda Roys, Democrat from Madison. She didn't have a challenger in the primary, and same for the general. So she won the seat in the general election. So we've had a great roundup here. Feeling good. We're just wanting to get out here, get ahead of it, and bring you guys some results. And we're going to continue to be talking about this for sure. Remember, we are every Friday breaking down some of the biggest local news stories of the week on our Friday News Roundup with some of the best and brightest minds in town. And this Friday, we are going to be joined by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's Kristen Bry. You might know from As Goes Wisconsin. She's quite the online content creator. And we're going to get into more context of some of these results. And it should be a good time.
I'm excited to hear from her. I know she had a lot to say from the RNC and DNC, and she's got an interesting take on how Wisconsin votes and whatnot. But y'all, thanks for rounding it up in this 5 o'clock hour. Let's get to it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
That's the CityCast Madison team. Hayley Sperling, our executive producer, Rob Thomas, our newsletter editor, and me recapping what we know so far about the 2024 general election results for the Madison area. We'll continue to cover election outcomes later this week on our Friday News Roundup, which will be featuring the one, the only online content creator, Kristen Bry of As Goes Wisconsin and the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Definitely plan on listening to that. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with someone who's still proudly wearing their I voted sticker? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, go get some rest.